Start.
Good evening, everybody. A warm welcome to everyone. My name is Dr. Mohanty Shenoy. I am an endocrinologist working in Sri Gokula Medical College and GG Hospital, Trivandrum. We are in the fourth session of our Facebook Live, and this is the coordinated effort of Endocrine Society under the leadership of Dr. Sanjay Kalra sir. And we have got a wellness endocrinology team, a special set of experts who are guiding us. And with me today is Dr. Satyavani. She is an eminent endocrinologist from Hyderabad. She's practicing in Sarur Nagar in her clinic. So I welcome her to this discussion. Hello, Satya. Hi, how are you?
And how are you?
Yeah, doing well. So how is Corona around you? Is fine? In that area is fine?
No, actually there is a rise in the cases. So I'm doing online consultations. I have kept my clinic closed.
Okay. Yeah. So today we have a discussion on myths on hypothyroidism. So recently I had a case which has been referred to me for evaluation of a thyroid problem. This is a girl, 13-year-old girl who was diagnosed with thyroid recently, around 2 months back. And the complaint was menstrual irregularity. So it is often seen in that age group only. And in addition to that, thyroid levels were also high. TSH is a level we use. So TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone level, was more than 100.
Oh.
So in that context, the parents were anxious and they had already come with the lab report. So how is it? First question would be to you. How is the prevalence of hypothyroidism in your place? And why do you think, is it rising or not?
Yeah. So it's a very good question, Mohan. Before I go into the prevalence, let me make it clear to the viewers out there as to what is hypothyroidism. When do we say it is hypothyroidism? So whenever the T4 levels, so we know that there are 3 sets of hormones that we test for thyroid to know about thyroid function: T3, T4, TSH. So whenever T4 is low and TSH is elevated, we call it hypothyroidism. And sometimes T4 can be normal and TSH is still elevated. Even that we consider as hypothyroidism. That is when the gland is not functioning properly. The thyroid gland is not functioning properly. So there is decrease in the levels of hormones in the blood. And you very truly mentioned that the prevalence is increasing. And honestly, Mohan, I feel the prevalence is increasing because of increased awareness among general public. Right. So you, just like how you told, that the patient walks into our clinic with a thyroid report, and our public is very much aware that hypothyroidism exists and that the symptoms are very vague. That is, they just consist of weight gain or easy fatigability. That is, they get easily tired, or some have body pain. So any small disturbance, they would get their thyroid profile checked. So one thing, first thing that I would attribute it to is because of increased awareness, and it is a good thing. And I think that is the reason why we both are sitting here discussing about hypothyroidism under the guidance of our beloved Dr. Sanjay Kalra sir. So anyway, autoimmunity is considered the most common cause. So for those who are there, I mean the viewers out there, autoimmunity means antibodies are produced in our body, in every person, but in some individuals, our own antibodies act against our own thyroid gland, destroying it. So that is the reason why it will not function properly, and there is hypothyroidism. And Mohan, ours being a soil with iodine deficiency, Indian soil is deficient in iodine. So we are all prone to iodine deficiency. And I was surprised to see that as I was leafing through a paper, I was surprised to see that almost 10%, 9 to 10% of Indian population is not taking iodized salt even now. And of those who are on iodized salt, only 70% are receiving adequate amount of iodized salt. So
that is very good. Yeah. This is the data which is published also. I think with the awareness, salt also matters a lot, because salt is the most consumed in our diet. So that is one thing. Yeah, continue. Yeah.
And another thing is because of changes in our lifestyle, and I would not say technically, I mean, I prefer to use less of medical terms, endocrine disruptors and all. I don't want to use.
Yeah, pollutants like.
Yeah, I would put it very simply as pollution or contamination of air, water, and also food with certain substances which will inhibit thyroid gland. And also in the cancer therapies, there have been many new drugs which are known to cause decrease in thyroid function. So these are all the reasons why the prevalence is increasing. And about India, almost 11% of population in India are hypothyroid. And my place, Hyderabad, almost 9% of population are hypothyroid. And if you
Oh,
ask about my clinic, because I only see exclusively endocrine cases, so every alternate patient is hypothyroid.
50%. Yeah, yeah. And moreover, lab also matters. I think they are doing in some not normal labs or something. So I think we have to ensure quality of this thing also. Yeah.
Yes. So Mohan, having talked about the prevalence, I want to ask you, what is the special set of population to which you want to screen specially for T3, T4, TSH, thyroid functioning? Please
So
tell.
screening is the one which is very important because we cannot still universally screen everybody. So we should do high risk screening for family members who had a relative with thyroid problem and a thyroid surgery, thyroid radiation, that is all there. But thyroid problem in general, anybody in family having this history, you should normally do an annual, if possible, TSH to do. And screening is universally recommended nowadays for pregnancy, because
Yeah.
pregnancy involves the health of the child as well as the growing the mother also. So mother's health. So we are purposely screening them in pregnancy so that we know that their health is also going maintained. And the third set we are doing in those patients, constitutional symptoms are there, because these are all very vague symptoms, very classical symptoms you have. So we have many children with less IQ. We don't screen everybody with that, but those who are not growing well, those who are very not challenged with their height, so they have they're challenging selective screening we do with them. So it's basically in family members, one. Second will be those with risk for developing all these with therapy with other drugs. And the third subset is with the children who are not growing well, and pregnancy, of course. That are the fourth condition.
So I have
As
actually.
well as neonatal, because congenital hypothyroidism is one preventable cause of retardation. That's also one context we should universally do ideally for in your country. Yeah.
So I have actually framed a mnemonic for this, Mohan. Who
Okay.
are the population who are to be screened? Who are to be? I mean, we are to be vigilant about that population. So, if you permit me, shall I tell it to the audience?
Please.
So I have taken it from the word thyroid itself because we are dealing with thyroid gland. So yeah, THYROID. So T stands for teens. Teens with pubertal problems or with cycle problems, menstrual cycle problems. Then H stands for height problem in children. So any child who is not growing properly has to be tested for thyroid function. Then Y is youthfulness. I am very grateful to Dr. Sanjay Kalra sir for giving me this word. I could not, think about this. I mean, I did not get anything for Y, and sir.
So why you have just taken as a loan from sir?
So youthfulness is from sir. So, so here what I mean is who are not active, who are not feeling energetic, such patients also should be tested for thyroid functioning. And then R stands for reproductive age group. That is the couples who are unable to conceive, who are unable to the mother who is unable to become pregnant. And then O stands for old age. I stands for infants and newly born babies. So suppose they have prolonged jaundice or the infant is not growing properly, or if there is any, the infant is not attaining milestones properly. And then D is for various disorders like uncontrolled BP or a high cholesterol in a young patient. Then in patients like type 1 diabetics or in patients with joint pains, which we call rheumatoid arthritis, or any chronic anemia, that is hemoglobin is low. So these are all the various disorders.
Very nice mnemonic, easy to catchy, remember also. So thyroid. So I think we should copyright it before somebody does it.
Yeah.
I think you should take a copyright from Kalra sir and you should do it. Because that is the thing now, because we are specialists in thyroid as well. So endocrinology as a branch is 50 years. We didn't know that. Now we are reaching the golden jubilee of our society. And before that, even endocrinology existed in our country. So I was wondering that awareness is now gaining, but our society is already 50 years old now. So it's a very unique moment for us to be a representative of our society. That's why youthfulness is there in any age you can youthful.
Yes,
so one question regarding this, okay, So patient comes and asks you, and whether they are knowing that they're hypothyroid, what is that you will address first, or what does the patient ask you first when the patient comes?
Yeah, so being a Hyderabadi, I would tell it in Hyderabadi dialect. Okay, so the first question that the patient asked me is, "Madam, मुझे thyroid गले में हुआ या खून में?" Okay, that is the first question I am asked. So to translate it into, I mean, the Telugu patients who come, they say, "Madam, naku medalo unda, blood lo unda, thyroid."
Yeah, yeah.
It is all because of the awareness created by the chronically hypothyroid patients who are their neighbors. So I think here what the patient means is whether I have a goitrous hypothyroidism or not. So
Yeah.
Clear it to all the viewers out there that thyroid gland, we all have thyroid gland. It is in the front portion of the neck. It produces thyroid hormones, and these hormones are present in our blood, which we measure by doing the test. So everybody has got thyroid gland and everybody has thyroid hormones. It is only that in some patients of hypothyroidism have an enlarged thyroid gland. The thyroid gland swells up in them, which your endocrinologist will be able to see. And such patients are considered to be having goiter, that means an enlarged thyroid gland. The rest of the patients with hypothyroidism do not have this, and so they just have hypothyroidism without goiter. But whether it is associated with some amount of swelling or not, thyroid hormone is to be given from outside. That is, you need to take thyroid tablet for the control of or for the treatment of your hypothyroidism. Now that I have told my experience, Mohan, please tell me what your patient asks, especially in Malayalam.
Yeah, because awareness is highest in Kerala. Literacy rates are very high. So they already have Googled it and they have come with the reports and they have got the test done, antibody test done 2 or 3 times. They have confirmed it. So they come and ask me whether it is for lifelong or not. In Malayalam, they ask whether I need to take for lifelong or not. That is what they usually ask. And they sometimes tell very vaguely also, can I stop it after 2 days, 3 days? So, so for my context, so we take an example of our neighboring state, Tamil Nadu. Okay. So because Tamil Nadu produces rice more, because we have rice fields, but we have no production of, we are a consumer state. So what I have gained from my practice in last few years, I tell them, when you want some rice, even our state doesn't takes it from Andhra, Tamil Nadu and all. So you take an example of that. So we have a demand for this thing at present. We cannot stop eating rice. So in that context, I tell them, so it is required till your need is completely over or not. That is one thing. And then I tell them it's like a factory. So your energy is required for all day-to-day life. So it is just a small dose we are taking for some time, and depends on the context. We definitely try and stop pregnancy after some time, and after the child has grown, we definitely try and stop it off. But patients are very compliant in that sense. Patients take our advice seriously. So Malayalis are generally, they ask them moja, they tell us a moja. So they have a moja in the neck. So they get confused regarding the normal neck and they have a thyroid. So they will tell thyroid is there, they have a neck also separately. So we tell a butterfly shaped organ, we tell them in a very, because school knowledge also, people are taught about thyroid in the school also, because now online education is very rapid. So that's also one thing. So I think this is one thing which I am finding very thing. So how do you advise, Satya madam, to your patients? Because madam, patients are coming. So how do you advise L-thyroxine? Because we know that thyroid is available in our country in only one form, that is thyroxine. And the form which is available in the market is L-thyroxine. So how do you advise? I'm not asking about a dose or what. So what is the general advice do you give to your patient?
Yeah, so once I write my prescription, I tell the patient that the patient has to take the tablet on empty stomach. So, and I was surprised to hear from some patients that they were told to take the tablet early in the morning at 5 a.m. So the patient would set an alarm at 5 a.m., take the tablet and go back to sleep. Okay. So I had 2 to 3 patients telling me this, and in some cases it was actually advised by the treating doctor. Okay. So let me clarify in this context that that thing is not required. You can sleep completely, get up whenever you want to wake up. And then only thing is you have to take the tablet on empty stomach. And after you take the tablet, you need to wait for at least 1 hour before you actually have your coffee, tea, or breakfast. So that
In
1 hour.
professionals also they are able to take it IT because IT hub and all, no. So this is because the place where our Keralites are very compliant, because when some of our ward sisters also, no, they are also hypothyroid. So some of our patients who are already on evening shift, night shift, so still you're telling them empty stomach and morning only, or do you take?
In that case, we will advise according to their shifts. Okay. Generally, but it is that most of them are, daytime workers and all that. So we tell it that way. And then I will also advise about certain drugs, like some patients are on omeprazole and pantoprazole.
Gas medicines.
Yeah, I would say keep it simple as tablets for acidity, which are to be taken on empty stomach. So I would tell them to take the thyroid tablet first, give a gap of 1 or 1.5 hour, and then take that particular tablet for acidity.
What about tea? What about tea or any coffee or tea or any morning? Do you have any timing for that?
No, it's 1 hour gap.
1 hour
Suppose
gap.
they are unable to give a gap of 1 hour anytime, then I will say at least half an hour is also okay. And
because preparations are very good preparations now. I think
yeah.
they have very standard preparation, because we have patients who are coming from abroad also. They all have the same preparation most often. Yeah.
And for pregnant patients who are on calcium and iron, I would advise to take calcium and iron tablets in the afternoon or in the night time, not to take during morning time when thyroid tablet is taken, because they will inhibit the absorption of the tablet.
So nothing with the thyroid medicine. Thyroid medicine should go like a VIP, should go separate. Not even like VIP. VIP will go with 10 people.
Yes, first preference should be thyroid. That's all.
Yeah.
So, Mohan, tell me, suppose a patient misses 1 dose of thyroid tablet, what is it that you advise to such
it
patients?
happens very often. Patient confesses to you. So they have taken very religiously, correctly they have taken. Before the last 1 week, they have done it properly. So before that, they will do it and they miss it some often. I tell them next day you take the missed tablet again. So that means 2 tablets on the next day. So if it happens regularly like that, then they have to be very vigilant with that as well. So they should not, because habits are very, very important, because daily walking is a habit, drinking water properly is a habit. And just like that, practicing properly and good habit formation is correct. So I tell them it's thyroid is a wellness also. So you have to be, illness is not the only thing which you have worried. So you should be well, normal, healthy. So I think the COVID times, we have got a lot of telemedicine inquiries regarding so many things. One of the patients asked the same question. So thyroid medicine, they forgot consecutively 1 month because they forgot because of the stress or whatever. So that period, definitely we have to hike the dose according to the latest levels. And that is one thing which I am finding very important, because informing them correctly, in the first visit only telling them the timing and the way you have to take it. If you forget, then you mainly maintain it correctly.
Yes.
So that is one thing. So why do you think that thyroid has a role in weight gain? Because I am finding many people complaining because thyroid and weight, some people continue to gain weight despite being on thyroid. Do you think there is a role of hypothyroidism, weight gain, and significantly continuing like that?
Yeah, so this is a very commonly seen misconception. So you have a very obese lady, very fat lady walking into the clinic and attributing all her weight gain to hypothyroidism, when actually TSH is normal for her. She is on tablet and TSH is normal for her, and she attributes all her obesity to hypothyroidism, and she is not in a mood of following diet or increasing the physical activity. She doesn't even bothering about her weight gain. So this is a common scenario that we see. Actually, Mohan, you all know this. The weight gain in hypothyroidism is because of accumulation of water. It is more than accumulation of fat. It is mainly because of accumulation of water. And once the patient is started on therapy, that is, once the patient starts taking tablet, there is removal of this excess water in the form of urine. So whatever, say, usually it is around 2 to 5 kg of weight gain that occurs, and that comes back to normal once the patient is started on tablet. So at the maximum, it is almost 10%, not more than 10%.
Clinically, weight gain reduces with the starting of treatment,
Yes.
and after
Yes.
some time, maybe you should lifestyle measures should be intensified.
Yes. And one more thing is actually hypothyroidism causes a decrease in the hunger, a decrease in appetite. So it is mainly because of accumulation of water. And whoever is obese and hypothyroid, I tell them, I request them to change their lifestyle, to take a balanced diet and to exercise properly to work on their weight, and not just simply brood over hypothyroidism, saying because I'm hypothyroid, I will not anyway lose weight, so I don't want to do anything. It is not so. Yeah.
So that's the correct thing.
Yeah.
I think I understood that very well now.
Now, Mohan, because you asked me about weight gain,
Yeah.
one thing that popped up in my brain is hair fall.
That is another problem. Yeah.
Yes, women, we are all very obsessed with our hair. We don't want even a single strand of hair to fall when we comb. Okay,
Yeah.
so your take on hypothyroid hair fall?
Because recently the patients who are coming, they are also worried because of many other stress also, because stress is one of the major reason for hair fall. And any illness, so for any illness, any stressful event, any change of any environmental factors, all those things can affect your hair. And hair cycle is there for 3 to 6 months. So it doesn't mean thyroid will definitely cause hair, because hypo and hyper both are causing hair loss. So it's very least sensitive or least specific sign of hypothyroid. And these things we have to remember, because hair fall, and they have prescribed many other medicines for hair fall. So we are not sure whether a thyroid is the major cause, but definitely when you have a first time visiting, when you have a thyroid which is abnormal, you consider hair fall as a problem with thyroid. But definitely thyroid and hair fall will not go on the long run, like that will be the main cause for life or like that.
And I would like to add one more thing here. The hair cycle itself is 3 to 4 months. So if the hair fall is because of hypothyroidism also, for it to get back to normal, it will take time.
It will take time. It will take time. So that's the thing. And hair quality is also important, because the dry skin, the hair which is lusterless, and we have to observe properly, because now we are just observing that, because these are all signs, and some signs like cold intolerance. That is one of the most catchy thing, because people like to walk in the AC rooms and all. Suddenly they feel that they are not able to tolerate that cold. That may be the first sign. As a doctor has told, edema is maybe the first sign. So that is a leg swelling and all. So there are many other signs, unlike other diseases. Thyroid is the most, there are many signs which can happen. So hair fall can be ignored for some time, but definitely if you are worried about that, you consider other things as well.
Yes.
So next question, I think we have some questions from the crowd, or we'll take some questions from the viewers. Sure. So I think now we have to ask 2 questions, I think. What is the patient has hypothyroidism? This patient had this 13-year-old girl now came. So suppose she is coming after 10 years and she asked me whether she will have babies. So after that is the one thing, because marriageable age, we have to consider whether we have to continue or not. Some people are scared to continue it after they're married. So because the house, the mother-in-law will be staring or something she's eating. So now I think that is a very thing. But generally, what do you take about whether it will be a considering factor for you regarding reproductive outcomes?
Yeah, it is more of patient anxiety. So if a woman is hypothyroid, okay, so it is her problem. Okay, but if a woman of reproductive age group, okay, who has not completed her family is hypothyroid, then hypothyroidism becomes the problem of entire family. So the patient's mother, the patient's mother-in-law, everybody, worried whether they will have grandchildren or not. So it's a kind of misconception. Definitely, hypothyroidism has a role to play in fertility. In fact, 50% of hypothyroid women have got menstrual irregularities. That is, they do not get their periods regularly. And 25% of women with hypothyroidism have infertility. That it is because the egg is not released from ovary. Okay. But once we start them on therapy, it gets back to normal. Everything gets back to normal. If the patient only has hypothyroidism and infertility, once we start her on therapy, once TSH levels are normalized, then everything gets back to normal and she can conceive like any other woman. But the thing that to remember is any hypothyroid woman planning a conception, planning a pregnancy should see that her TSH level is below 2.5. So whenever a woman wants to conceive, she has to consult her endocrinologist, see that her TSH is below 2.5, and then only she can plan her pregnancy. If she does that, I don't think there will be a major problem.
So they are being advised properly before the pregnancy itself. So ideally, we should do a pre-marital and pre-gestational counseling also, because for the family itself, it's a big issue. So I think this is a very important thing we have to consider.
So Mohan, in this context, I remember some doubts that my patients, asked me, like if a mother is hypothyroid during pregnancy, if she gets to know that she is hypothyroid during pregnancy, then is it that she will give birth to a baby with hypothyroidism? What is your take on that?
Yeah. So pregnancy is the most happy phase in a person's life. So you should not take any stress in that way. And when you are diagnosed with hypothyroid in pregnancy, the safest medicine physiologically is the hypothyroid is the thyroxine. So we continue it, and because in this context, I like to add, because when the patient doesn't know she is pregnant and the value was found to be high, and patient had previously hypothyroidism, so that time we already tell them, if you are already taking in a week 7 tablets, you make it 9 tablets when you're diagnosed to have pregnancy. Because even without seeing us, you can directly straight away make it 2 extra in that week. So that means you can make it up there. But doesn't mean, because hypothyroidism and congenital hypothyroidism is actually higher in our context. So it doesn't mean that the baby needs to be hypothyroid. But one thing to consider is that the first 3 months, the thyroid in the baby is not formed. So that period is critical for the organs to get developed. So the brain, heart, and other organs. So that period is critical. So don't miss the medicines in the first months, and definitely, and after pregnancy, definitely we have to consider neonatal screening also. So there is a theoretical possibility, but now I think with proper management of thyroid in pregnancy, I think everybody in our system is tuned to this. So that I think insurance is also picked up early, and it's very curable cause also. So that doesn't mean that we have to be worried about hypothyroidism in the baby, but we definitely consider that hypothyroidism congenital screening is a necessity in general also.
So I have framed a mnemonic for congenital hypothyroidism also. I mean, screening.
Good. Carry on.
To remember easily. Again, it's based on the word thyroid only. Okay. So T stands for third day TSH.
Okay.
So after the baby is born, on the third day, all the babies have to be, irrespective of whether the mother had hypothyroidism or not, all the babies born should be screened for hypothyroidism on the third day. And H stands for heel prick, because that is the sample which we take. So they prick the heel, and that is taken on a filter paper, and that is sent for metabolic screening as well as for the screening of thyroid hormones. So T is third day of life, and H is heel prick, and yellow is for yellow eyes. Again, thanks to Sanjay Kalra sir for giving me this, because again I could not think anything with white. Okay,
so white is one thing which is very good, no?
Yeah, so yellow eyes, that means if your baby has jaundice, which is not coming down even after 15 days, that is called prolonged neonatal jaundice. So if the baby has prolonged jaundice, you need to test for T3, T4, and TSH, that is thyroid functioning. Then R stands for repeat testing. So if your endocrinologist or your pediatrician is asking you to repeat the sample for the baby, please get it repeated. Don't think that it is only doubtful, my baby is okay. No, whenever required, a repeat sample is a must. Then O stands for once a day tablet. So that is what we treat with. And I stands for immediate treatment, because the newly born babies and the infants, they're all very prone to the mental
time is critical
yes,
time. Yeah.
Brain is very sensitive to deficiency of thyroid hormone. So immediate treatment to be given. And D stands for developmental assessment. That is, whenever you go for a follow-up to your pediatrician or to your endocrinologist, they try to assess how your baby is developing, whether the milestones are being achieved properly or not. So D stands for developmental assessment.
Very good. I think you are, with time, you are developing a good set of mnemonics. I think public needs it because nowadays we are sure that nowadays social media is one thing which is a very thing because this is the Facebook medium which we are catching up. So I think public awareness, public health initiatives, and creating a easy remember coining things. It's a very good thing. Thank you, Dr. Satya. Yeah. So I think we are halfway stage. I think so. I think anything.
More questions. Go on.
Yeah. Yeah. So anything you want to ask regarding? Yeah, I will ask you regarding advising of diet because diet is one thing for general health also we advise. So do you suggest any diet specific for hypothyroid patient?
See, the time that I spend talking about diet with diabetic patients is almost the same as thyroid patients. Actually, there is no diet restriction for hypothyroid patients, but they are not convinced at all. It is hypothyroid patients who are more worried about their diet than diabetic patients, to be frank, at least in my setting. So there is no specific diet for hypothyroidism. I know for most of the viewers out there, what pops up in their brain now is cabbage.
Yeah.
So people are worried about whether they can take cabbage, cauliflower, etc. They have so many doubts. But let me tell you, they are all vegetables with good nutritive value. It is true that they have got some substances which can decrease the functioning of thyroid gland, but it is not that you completely avoid them. If you take them in moderation, say once a week, that is how we generally
We don't take it daily also, no? In our places, gobi Manchurian or something, no? We don't take it every day or something.
It's not very often that we take those vegetables, so they will be beneficial to you rather than cause any harm. And here I want to stress upon one more thing, though it is not common in our places in South India to consume soya bean. In North India, people do consume soya bean, right? Very frequently. So for them, what I would like to advise is you can have soya bean, but you keep it for your lunch or for dinner. Don't have it in your breakfast because soya bean will decrease the absorption of thyroid tablet. That means if you take soya bean, the levels of the thyroid, it is difficult for thyroid tablet to enter your blood.
So because of some phytoestrogen or something, I think
something
technical terms are there. The crowd will be learning. Google is there, so next minute they will search. So phytoestrogens are there in that. So estrogens and thyroid have a problem. So that's one of the things which we are ascribing. And what about tapioca? Because our place staple food.
You have to tell Mohan because we don't consume tapioca here, so I have no problem.
Because in the lockdown period, people because rice and items their government is providing, but in their own farm they are growing yam, tapioca, and some tubers and all. So that thiocyanates are there in that as well. As doctor told, don't take it daily. So staple food is not tapioca. So that way. But another point is that thiocyanate, and if you have with fish, so that also can be a factor that can be overcome. So that is also one thing which can be going away. So diet is not a big fancy thing regarding thyroid. And so many dietitians also we are in our own setup who are very familiar with it. Some people definitely there will be a miscommunication and education issues. But we are there for you for that because endocrinologists are in this group. We have made a lot of posters for you. We have come up with a lot of videos as well. So be free to comment on our videos. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and we are on all platforms, even on Quora. I think Quora is one thing which you can debate and you can discuss with your own views. So I think we are all for advocacy for the patients. So patient having a right to know more. So we are all for your education. So that is the thing.
So actually, Mohan, so you being a woman, I got reminded of my, my recipes and my kitchen. And one important ingredient is salt, right?
Okay.
So please tell us about iodized salt and all that.
Yeah, that is another controversial area. So iodine deficiency disorders are a very large chunk of diseases, which is the most common single largest cause of preventable brain damage. So it was historical in occurrence because in Kashmir area and some Himalayan valley area, who had some deficiency in their soil as well as in the drug with the vegetables which are growing from them, and there are innate issues in them. It is actually invisible cause of mental retardation. That was the historical description. And salt is one of the medium which was used as a public health challenge also, because, and we have a lot of studies from our literature. So in put in a nutshell, we have a iodine deficiency disease program also, and iodine in the salt, they are having 10 gram of salt that generally people take. So 150 microgram of iodine is there, is a convention now. And the last 5 to 6 years, we have a lot of queries coming up because rock salt is another medium which they are using. And generally in India, there is very high index of iodinization also. So the choice is the patient's. Patient comes with all these doubts in their mind. So when the patient is hypothyroid diagnosed on thyroxine, there is no doubt that whichever salt they are using, we are taking care of their thyroid problem because we are giving physiological agent. But we have any diseases other than that. So that means thyroid has been removed. Then also we are continuing thyroid medicine only. So there is a lot of debate discussion because thyroid nodules were found in Japanese population by using iodized salt. There is a debate in itself. But in an agreement, endocrinologists from India as well as public health experts are very unanimous that iodized salt is a norm and we have to follow the norm of the government of India. So iodized salt is the norm. So we should definitely continue to use it. And when you have other diseases, definitely we should consider as a balanced approach.
Right.
So that is one thing which I am finding. So Satya, anything you have advice regarding follow-up of after treatment? So when you have a follow-up plan, do you have a follow-up plan for thyroid after starting treatment in general?
Definitely.
Any mnemonic for that as well?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So once the patient is started on thyroid tablet, I will ask them to come after 1 to 1.5 months. So usually it is 4 to 6 weeks. Sometimes the patient mistakes weeks to months and they'll come after. Yeah, that also happens. So I make sure that I tell them 4 to 6 weeks. That means 1 to 1.5 months. But I came across certain very anxious patients who wanted their TSH to just get back to normal immediately after started on therapy.
But we are forced sometimes by surgeons or any emergency procedures, no? So like cataract surgery, that's another topic in itself. But when you have urgent need for reducing it, then only we consider them very quick. I think 10 days to 15 days generally it takes, no?
But, I have had patients who were otherwise normal and who got their TSH checked after 10 days only because they wanted to check if TSH is normal or not.
Yeah.
So let me tell you that, let me be clear to the viewers out there that, see, the T3, T4 hormones which are in our blood, once their levels get normalized because of your whatever thyroid tablet the patient is on, the signal has to reach the brain and then brain will decide to decrease the production of TSH. That means the whole thing will take some time, at least a minimum of 1 month to stabilize to the new level of thyroid hormone. So if you are in a hurry also, if you get the test done, it is only a mere waste of time and energy and money. Because you're not going to get anything out of it. A minimum of 1 month is required before you actually test for TSH, and maybe up to 2 months. 1 to 2 months is okay. But don't delay it. When you're first started, newly started on thyroid tablet, it is always better you get the test done between 1 and 2 months. Don't extend it to 2.5, 3, or even more than that, because if the dose is not sufficient, your endocrinologist will not be able to adjust the dose. So see that you get the test done between 1 and 2 months so that we will know whether the dosage is enough or not.
This context are reminded because we have telethyroidology also. Telephonic, they are inquiring because now access to information is there, and doctors also consult because you are also aware of telemedicine being rampantly available also. So you can reach out to your friendly neighborhood endocrinologist, your treating physician, and we are there for you to always help you. But definitely don't take it to your brain that it will take time. So definitely, some things work out in the proper way only. So you should take it in a positive way only. Yeah.
We should give it some time, na?
Yeah. Correct.
So because we are talking about testing, so tell us how you advise your patients about testing. Is fasting required for getting TSH levels done? Please.
Yeah, so generally we do TSH is a fair enough test for checking the adequacy of thyroid medicine. We are talking about hypothyroidism. So hypothyroidism, usually TSH will be enough for you to check. So in pregnancy also we are happy with that. But some situations we are doing T4 or T3. That is the only thing we are doing. Some special labs we test is free T4. That is all depending on the area and the patient we are worried. So TSH in general, we do it in a morning sample. That is generally. Fasting or non-fasting, that depends on the context we're using. In reproductive age group, definitely fasting is the one recommended because we want the thyroid levels to be the true value. So we call it the true value. So that way we will take, and generally miss the tablet on that day. That is the only thing we advise. So because thyroxine we know is this LT4, because thyroid is an active form of thyroxine. So that day if you are taking and immediately checking the blood, no, that definitely will maybe have a false value. And day morning, skip the medicine, go in the morning, give the blood, meet your doctor, let the doctor decide. That's a simple thing. So, so that is the one thing. And so do you continue the thyroid medicine till, because patient comes and asks you, because thyroid, when will you stop the medicine? You are continuing because you are happy with getting us again and again treated. So do you continue medicine with the thyroid level TSH norm?
Once initially the patient was worried that she had hypothyroidism. We will counsel her, we will start her on tablet, ask her to come back after 1 month. Now the TSH is normal. She's very
Why do you want to continue? Yeah.
She's very happy that it is normal. She is very happy that she has used the tablet, and also that she has consulted me, who is a good doctor according to her.
And symptoms also come down, no? Symptoms also less now.
Yeah,
Now she's energetic. Yeah.
And now the worry starts. Why should I continue taking the tablet when it has become normal? Why should I continue taking the tablet? That is the major worry that she has. Oh, lifelong. Why should I take it? Now the TSH is normal. So then I have to spend some more minutes with her discussing about, hypothyroidism is where your thyroid gland is not functioning properly. So, and that is there to last. It is not like fever or something that you give paracetamol or some antibiotic and it comes down. It is not like that. It's a chronic problem that is there to last. Yes, there are certain scenarios when it is only temporary, like in newborn or in pregnancy sometimes, that after that period is over, once we feel that we can stop the tablet, we can. But in most patients of hypothyroidism, they have to take the tablet and maintain it throughout the lifetime. So then I compare them to my other set of patients. I tell her, see, there is a diabetic patient. If it's a diabetic patient, there is diet restriction. There are 3 to 4 medicines that you have to use. And sometimes I will give you insulin also. You don't have all those problems. You can have a balanced diet. You only need to take 1 tablet a day, that's all. And
so either you counsel them or you give them a simple tips to do that. But basically, thyroid is just like a simple disorder to manage.
Yeah,
even medicine is like a,
I try to gain their confidence. I would tell them that if any point of time, if I feel that you can be stopped, your thyroid tablet can be stopped, I will be the first person to stop it.
That's correct.
So that guarantee she will go happily and she will try to maintain taking the tablet. Now, you tell me why they have to monitor frequently for their thyroid function.
Yeah. So, so it so happened that one of our patients, as my doctor told, stopped the medicine for 3 months, comes back after some time. So these are all risk factors for developing nodules. So thyroid requires some basic amount of hormone for your body. So in case that deficiency suddenly gets replaced and you stop it all of a sudden, that means that brain is struggling to meet the requirements. So that time there is a risk for developing the rebound symptoms of goiter. And moreover, the second time or third time, the problems may be multiple.
Yeah.
So the way the patient perceives it very important. So I give them time. It's a simple medicine, very easy to take. So testing is also very available. And previously, I remember our professor used to tell thyroid TSH, you have to go for 3 days lab reports. So now it's available in 3 hours or less than that. So I definitely give them hope that we are continuing the medicine for your sake. and don't stop it without consulting a doctor. And we are available all the time for you. So so that's one thing, and I give them really, because continuing testing also 3 to 4 monthly testing is necessary as well, that way.
Though the guidelines and all say 6 monthly, 1 yearly, in clinical practice it is becoming very difficult, because if you ask them to come after 6 months, they will come after.
They will not come. They will not come. For them, 6 months means 1 year. So
yeah, even I feel 3 to 4 monthly follow-up is ideal in our setting at least.
Yeah. So so this is the one thing which last thing I would think we can. So we can definitely. Why do you want to stick to a particular brand? Is there any we can use brand changing or anything? Because thyroid is the commonly abused thing, because we have so many brands in the market, and I think luckily it's a very cheap medicine. So they are also going options, online purchasing are there. They have also government schemes which support free medicine. So I had a patient recently coming from a program which is central government program. The person doesn't have thyroid, but they make me write the medicine for her sibling. So telling that I told I will not write unless it is for you, because it's proxy and all, it's for your school time. So Dr. Satya, can you tell me, why do you want to stick to this rigid thing? You're insisting on a medicine, no doctor's prescription. So do you substitute the medicines in some way or another?
No, I don't. If the patient is maintaining normal TSH on a particular brand, I see that even if I didn't start her on that brand, okay, then also I see that I stick to the brand, and it is only, 2 or maximum 3 standard brands that I prescribe for my patients. And the patients are so skeptical about it. They feel that the doctor is in favor of that particular brand or that particular company. Let me be clear that it is not for our sake that we are doing that. It is only out of concern for your health, for your thyroid status that we are doing, because different brands have got different bioavailabilities. That means the absorption of the tablet in your intestines differs. The way they control the TSH, everything differs. And Mohan, recently I have had a pregnant lady. Till 5th month, she was there under my follow-up, and she was maintaining normal TSH. Then she went to her mom's place, and there somebody actually changed the brand of the drug.
Hyderabad only, nearby, far away.
In the outskirts, okay. So I don't want to take names or anything.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Her TSH rose up. It shot up to almost 150. A pregnant lady.
What was the reason? Brand only.
The doctor changed the brand.
Okay.
It was shifted to a local brand. Sometimes the patients they want to use a local brand because somebody is working in that company and they get it free of cost. Some want to use generic drugs. I have seen variety number of cases regarding this. Every time, in 80% of the patients, it is always that the TSH shoots up, and we have to put them back on the standard brand and also increase the dosage.
Very tough also, no? So
very tough.
Juggling between the medicines and to continue the correct time and dose. Yes. So it's in microgram, no? It is a very small dose. It is very safe medicine. If it is safe in pregnancy, it is safe for the even breastfeeding also. So I think brand is also one thing which doctor can definitely guide you best. That's the one thing. I think this is the awareness for others.
Yeah, after seeing this program, maybe the viewers they will change their mindset.
And now your job will be more. I think you should create more mnemonics now. We will refer them to you for mnemonics. That's a good compliment from my side.
Thank you. So Mohan, tell us about thyroid supplements, because we get patients from US. My uncle is in US or my cousin in US, and this is from US. So what thyroid supplements in hypothyroidism?
Yeah, so these are called nutraceutical medicines because they are wellness chemicals. So there are many brands. I will not name anybody because we are not here to defame or make them bad. So we are generally a wellness initiative. There are many nutrients which are beneficial for thyroid. As I had mentioned earlier, iodine is one thing which is needed to make the thyroid hormone. Something called selenium is there to provide the proper nutrition to the metabolism. It is called deiodinase. These are all activities for the enzyme. So thyroid hormone needs this. So selenium is there in the soil for many places, but some places they are definitely recommending them in some areas. But in general, we don't use them. And tyrosine is another thing which they have already constitution in some of the biochemical medicines we have. So many confusion. Vitamin B complex also is needed for thyroid. These are all conglomerate of things. Even your normal diet will contain all these things in general. So nutraceuticals like zinc, selenium, vitamin D, these are all generally recommended for benefit of health. So thyroid specialists will not recommend them for a hypothyroid patient. But if you have any other diseases, definitely they will be added to that disease. But whatever medicine you are taking, don't take with thyroid medicine. That is the one thing which we tell, because everything thyroid will have a problem with absorption. So nutraceutical don't give another beneficial advantage to them. But if you have any other body problem, they will have benefit. But thyroid generally doesn't need a specific nutraceutical for it.
Yeah. So I think all the hypothyroid patients should remember that they only have to bother about 2 T's. One T is their thyroid tablet and the other T is TSH. Those are the 2 things that they have to bother about, and the diet and
record is very important. No, I want to just recording of the values. No, so sometimes you bring a report. So 1 month it is like this value. Next month they don't remember. They tell they have forgotten the slip. So what I do is, when I have the thyroid report, suppose this is the report with me. So what I do is, I just write on that same place, this is the date in which and what the dose the patient was taking on that day. So that is one thing which I do. Even if it is a prescription, that on top of the drugs and all, I write on the report only the medicine which is taking, so that next time I get to know that the patient sometimes bring an Excel sheet or a file neatly managed. So many people are taking many consultations. So they bring an Excel file, all the reports entered, TSH very neatly managed. That is the one which we should keep, recording the value, because as we know, vigilance is one thing, because for our own benefit, you should be having this thing in your mind. Yes. So a simple medicine like thyroxine and a simple test like TSH. These are the only 2 things which are Dr. Satya has correctly mentioned.
Very true, very true.
I think we are nearing 1 hour. No? I think.
Oh.
So I think 45 to 50 minutes. We thought of making it a small. I think we should take any questions.
Mohan, I think it still stands incomplete only because hypothyroidism is such a vast subject to discuss. So I don't think we can accommodate all the questions in just one session.
We have taken many questions from our own practice, no? So these questions are the one I think I will just we can respond to the questions later on. I think all these questions can be dealt by email also. We will definitely, and we will continue meeting you, because not only me, we will be bored. Other people will be bored of seeing us. So definitely we involve a new set of people and new set of ideas also. So next capsule we also will be having.
So let me tell the audience out there that this whole month we are dedicating to thyroid gland. So they will be watching more and more sessions on thyroid gland this month.
So much about thyroid. So they will be definitely interested, no? Thyroid. So last month we had about diabetes. Yes. And before that we had obesity. So I think viewership is definitely, YouTube also we are planning to come up with various initiatives. So these are all initiatives done from our end. So anything from your end you require specifically, you can raise them in your queries either on the email or on the chat box. So I think I leave the final verdict or final word with Dr. Satya.
Yeah.
Thank you for your active involvement, first of all.
Thank you, Mohan. Thank you. So first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Sanjay Kalra sir, President, Endocrine Society of India, for giving both of us this opportunity, and for having, such a good vision, and I mean, to increase awareness, endocrine awareness among public. That is a very good initiative, very great initiative by sir. And I'm very thrilled and I'm very happy that I am a part of this program. So thank you so much, sir, for giving both of us this opportunity. I would like to thank USV people, for helping us do all this. And special thanks to you, Dr. Mohan Shenoy. You have been such a wonderful co-speaker and a very good friend that...
Pleasure, always.
So thank you so much. I'm very blessed to have a friend like you.
Dr. Gagan Priya, madam, she is the one.
I'd like to thank Dr. Gagan Priya, madam, Dr. Sheila Sheikh, madam, and Dr. Sunil Kota, sir, for encouraging us.
Entire team of wellness endocrinology, entire team.
especially from on a personal note that I want to thank three of them. And thanks to the whole of wellness endocrinology team, because everybody is doing something from their end, posters or videos, everybody is involved in increasing awareness. And I would also like to thank Vamshi for helping us do this. And also, last but not the least, I would like to thank the viewers out there who are watching us, who are sending so many queries to us and encouraging us and supporting us. So I'm really blessed to have this session, and I'm very happy, and I'm looking forward to do more such things in future. So thank you all.
Thank you. Jai Hind and stay safe.
Yeah, thank you.